Patriots at Broncos, AFC Championship game, 2 p.m. on Sunday, and New England is favored by 4.5, largely because, as y'all already know, Bo Nix isn't playing. It's Jared Stidham time, and so it puts a huge question mark on a Denver Broncos offense that already was not like a phenomenal unit, and now you're rolling with a backup, and not even one of the like high caliber backups of the league, I would say. But even still, the Broncos defense is so good, and they're playing at home. New England's only a 4.5-point favorite. What are y'all's thoughts on this game? How much, like, what do y'all expect from Jared Stidham? What do you think he needs to do to, give the Broncos an avenue to win this game, or is it just solely on their defense?
I can talk about it. That's obviously going to be one of the biggest talking points in this game is Jared Stidham. He's making his 5th career start and his 3rd career start for Sean Payton. He hasn't started a game since the 2023 season. He started 2 games with the Denver Broncos. And then he's started 2 other games with the Raiders the year prior. One of the things that's been mentioned a few times this week, and it's potent that it's mentioned again, is that Stidham he was Sean Payton's first free agency signing like ever since he joined Denver. Stidham signed a 2-year, $12 million contract this offseason as well to stay with the team, to stay as a backup of the team. So translation, Sean Payton loves this guy.
Yeah.
If he's the first guy you target when you go to this new franchise in Denver, and then a guy you want to bring back and you pay $6 million to be a backup per year, Sean Payton likes the guy. Stidham likes him. He knows he can trust in Jared Stidham to a degree. If it means anything to you, Stidham did start and play in 2 preseason games this year. In those 2 games, he was actually electric. He was 30 for 38, 376 yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks. He had 3 carries for 36 yards. And if it means anything to you as well, they were 2-0 when he was the starting quarterback in the preseason. Sam Ehlinger ended up backing him up in both of those 2 games and came in the second half. But Stidham was really efficient. Of course, didn't turn the ball over in the preseason, albeit against backups. But Stidham also had a solid college career, and that's more than likely where a lot of people will know his name, starting 1 year at Baylor, and then he started 2 years at Auburn after he transferred to Auburn. His freshman year, he led Baylor as high as number 6 in the country and led Auburn in his junior season to an SEC West title, and they were 1 game away from the college football playoff, where they ended up losing in the SEC championship to Georgia. They'd lost that year to number 3 Clemson on the road and in Death Valley, the other Death Valley, LSU. But he had wins over Tuscaloosa, or not over Tuscaloosa, over Alabama in the Iron Bowl. For State fans, Jared Stidham was 1-1 against Mississippi State in his career, but he was 0-1 in Starkville, which is the better selling point there. For like him in this game, he obviously, if he puts up efficient numbers like he did in the preseason, they got a chance. One of the things to note is that Bo Nix this year had a passer rating of just 87.8, which is below an average-ish passer rating for an average game for a quarterback. It is the lowest passer rating by a team to win 12-plus games since the 2015 Broncos, the year Peyton Manning won the Super Bowl with the elite defense, 2 years removed from his elite offensive year, and the loss against Seattle. They ended up beating Carolina in Peyton's last ride, and he had a similar passer rating to Bo Nix this year. So, translation, Jared Stidham doesn't have to have an elite passer rating to be in a spot where the Broncos can end up winning this game. Something to note, like, this is a quarterback that he can run. He has mobility. He's not a known runner, but there is one thing to note. He's known for running when the game is like, it's a big game, when it's a huge game against a big opponent. And so I would not be shocked if he uses his legs. In college, his career high in terms of like rushing yards and rushing attempts came against teams like number 6 Oklahoma State when he was at Baylor, against Alabama in the Iron Bowl, Georgia in the SEC Championship, his senior year at number 5 Georgia, and to open that year against number 6 Washington. His career high rushing game in the NFL, and his 4 starts came against Kansas City and Mahomes. So this is a quarterback that when it is required and it is a huge moment, he's not afraid to use his legs and not afraid to go pick up first downs. So I won't be, and you shouldn't be surprised if that's something he tries to do this Sunday against New England is use his legs and pick up critical first downs. I think he can be efficient. He can have a good day. On the other hand, New England, their last 2 weeks have given up just 19 points, 9.5 per game. And Denver scored 33 last week, but a lot of that was on the shoulders of short fields that were handed to them by Josh Allen of the Buffalo Bills. I think he's got a decent chance to have a good enough game, but I think a talking point a lot this week was that it's more so reliant on Drake May playing poorly than it is on Stidham playing great for Denver to win. Other talking points to talk about, this is obviously the AFC Championship that we all expected here. We all predicted Denver and New England in the AFC Championship.
Of course.
Sanders has it a TikTok, if that's what you want to call it, with him picking the Denver Broncos to win the AFC West. But
one of my greatest seer moments.
I don't think he had them in the AFC Championship game, considering Buffalo and Baltimore and Kansas City and Houston and his Chargers even, and my Raiders even.
And the Jets.
And the Jets, of course, yes, with Justin Fields. These were preseason odds to win the Super Bowl, these two teams. New England was plus 6,000, and Denver was plus 2,200. So these teams Denver was right around the 10 range in terms of odds to win the Super Bowl coming into the year, and New England was roughly around 20. So this is not the AFC Championship we expected, but it was something that we may have been able to predict as we got halfway through the season. These have been the two teams that have had the best record in the AFC for a long time. They never played each other this season. Obviously they had really, really weak schedules that they've played this year. A lot of people have been calling both of these teams frauds, Denver more so than New England. This will be the first time that they've played since Christmas Eve of 2023, when Bailey Zappi outdueled Russell Wilson as the Pats won their fourth game that season, which led to them picking second overall and picking Drake May instead of Caleb Williams. And it also eliminated the Broncos from the playoffs. It was also one of Russell Wilson's last starts for the Denver Broncos. The next week he was benched for Jarrett Stidham. So some tidbits towards this game. The stat you've been hearing on this show, especially for a month now, is Denver's home win streak, and that was snapped by Jacksonville, but they've won 14 of their last 15 at home. What you haven't been told, and no one has really talked about, because I didn't even realize it until I looked at it today, New England's 8-0 on the road this year. They won all 8 games in the regular season on the road, and their road wins are their best wins they've had this year as well. They've won on the road at Buffalo. They've won on the road at Baltimore, both of those primetime games. And then they've won on the road at Tampa Bay, which was a huge swing game about middle point in the season. And then they went in and beat Spencer Rattler in the Superdome, a massive win early in the year. They also have a win in Miami in September when the hot temperatures are the hottest and the most belief is there in Miami.
Sure.
That was their bounce-back victory after, the worst loss in the National Football League this season when the Raiders beat them week 1. I think for me, everyone's going to talk about Jarrett Stidham and what he's going to do against New England's defense and what they've done for a few weeks now. But I do think the matchup we're going to be watching is New England's offense versus the Broncos' defense. And if you don't mind, Sanders throwing that graphic up as well. It's strength versus strength is the best way to describe this matchup here. This year, New England is the second best scoring offense at 28.8 points per game. They are fourth in passing yards at 250 and sixth in rushing yards at 128. On the opposite side, it's the strength as well for Denver. They're 18.3 points per game, is third in the National Football League. They've only giving up 187 passing yards per game, and then the second best rushing defense at 91 per game. That being said, Buffalo last week was able to run the football well with James Cook and throw the football well through the air. The biggest discrepancy between these two teams where it is strength versus weakness, New England's offensive line is specifically Drake May and the Broncos' defensive line. The Broncos set the franchise record for sacks, having 71 this year. In the regular season, Drake May was sacked the third most out of any quarterback at 47. the past 2 weeks he's been sacked 5 times in each game against the Chargers and Texans defensive lines. And then, of course, this is the Broncos defensive line that leads the league in sacks. So it is a critical talking point to this game. Something that Drake May struggled with both of these 2 weeks has been fumbles. He's been putting the ball on the turf. He, in fact, has put the ball in harm's way a lot. He has the most fumbles and interceptions combined in 2 playoff wins in NFL history. Yeah. 2 back-to-back playoff wins in NFL history, having 10 fumbles and interceptions combined. That doesn't include fumbles lost. That just includes fumbles in general. And so for May, like, if you go back and watch a lot of his fumbles, there's one of them against Houston where he's like immediately pressured and it's his blind side. There's nothing he can do about it. But one thing he has been doing is he's been holding the ball, pumping the ball, trying to hit something deep down the field, seeing the pressure literally in front of his face and saying, "Oh, I don't care. I'm gonna try to get rid of the ball." And he's fumbled it a ton. He did that twice in the Chargers game and twice in the Texans game. Those are 2 things that can't happen. And what better example than what happened last week in Denver with Buffalo and the Denver Broncos, where Buffalo just handed Denver the football, and it was the reason they won that game.
Yeah.
May was kind of asked about this week, and he said, he's going to obviously look to protect the football. No one's game plan is to fumble 4 times and go out there and win. But he said, and this is the part I'm directly quoting, "But you know me, I'm always going to try to take the shot." And so it sounds like he's going to take an aggressive mindset into this game.
Uh-oh.
And that could spell trouble for Drake May and the Patriots. It's something I would be fearful of. I do think, like, if New England doesn't turn the football over, there's no way Denver can win. If Denver doesn't win the turnover battle, it doesn't feel like, if they don't get a free possession.
I mean, they could punt
points,
every time and win 3-0.
In theory.
Just putting that out there. It's a possibility.
In theory. I think Denver's got to turn the football over, and that means Drake May's got to protect it. And that's the critical one right there, is the sacks, is negative plays, stopping New England drives, but also the fumbles that have been forced on these pass rushers, especially the last 2 weeks. It's something to look at. What are things that you guys are looking at, those specifically, before we get into picking this game?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing for me was what you just touched on, and it's, can Drake May protect the football on the road against this defense? Because I think that's their avenue to winning based on who's on the other side. I don't want to completely rule out Jared Stidham, but at the same time, I kind of am with the way the Patriots defense has been playing. And so I trust in a vacuum New England's offense to put up more points than Denver's offense. But then you start throwing in the variables like turnovers, and then Jared Stidham just has to drive 30 yards for a touchdown. And that's a lot easier than 70 or, special teams, whatever. So I really think Drake May needs to take care of the football. I'd not heard that quote. I'm not sure I love that quote from him. I love it and I hate it. I get the sentiment. I want my QB to be confident. But at the same time, you got to protect the ball. Even like Ramondre Stevenson, kind of a bit of a known fumbler. Protect the football. That's really what I'm looking for. And then for Jared Stidham, again, real quick, Bo Nix, I've seen the stat going around that Bo Nix has been the best at avoiding pressure since coming into the career. His pressure to sack percentage is crazy low. And so can Jared Stidham kind of have some of that same magic? You mentioned his legs some. I'm not sure if I necessarily love the idea of him having to make plays with his legs. I think ideally, while he can a little bit, he doesn't have to. Because that scares me a little bit. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, and then also, did you touch on this? Because I was listening, I had kind of forgotten Sean Payton's success with backup quarterbacks. He's done a really good job with them traditionally. You think about the Taysom Hill era when he would come in occasionally for a game or two. He always had an excellent game plan to work around Taysom Hill.
Jameis Winston was a MVP candidate before he got hurt.
Teddy Bridgewater, I believe, went 5-0 in a stretch in the middle of the season in a Drew Brees year. So you just think about all the backup quarterbacks Sean Payton has coached. He's kind of been the Matt LaFleur, Malik Willis that we've seen in the past couple of years, where it just feels like, I don't know, you watch it, you think, I don't think this is sustainable, but wow, they look really good today. They look good this week. And Jarrett Stidham doesn't have to go 12-5, 11-6. He's got to go 2-0 with a really good defense on the other side. So that's my takeaway there is I'm not going to say I expect a good game from Jarrett Stidham, but it would not surprise me at all for Jarrett Stidham to post an efficient stat line, to not have a lot of turnovers. It wouldn't surprise me in the slightest to see a good game from Stidham because that's kind of what we've seen from backup quarterbacks under Sean Payton. And on the flip side, I've kind of realized that I'm a Patriots hater. And it's not that I hate the team. I think I'm going to have doubts about this team until they have the Super Bowl trophy because of their schedule. Because I know you listed the wins they had against the Bills and the Buccaneers, all those road wins. Two of those teams finished third in their division. None of them made the playoffs. So I think, or maybe one of them did. Right now, Buffalo made the playoffs. Thank you. The Bills made the playoffs. The other three that you listed did not. Right now, they've only got one win on the road against a playoff team, and that was the Bills that they beat early in the season. Every other playoff team they've beat has been at home. That's been in the playoffs when they hosted the Texans, and the week before that when they hosted in the wild card game. They haven't been tested on the road, and I don't think the Buccaneers gave them a test. I don't think that the Saints. I don't think that was a test. I don't think that you can be talking about a team.
You don't think the Bills gave them a test?
The Bills did give them a test, but even the Bills, it was not a good Bills game, and maybe you can argue that was because the Patriots made them play bad football. I'm not trying to fully discredit the Patriots. I'm just being honest, and I will admit the minute they win I won't believe it if they win today, but the minute they win the Super Bowl, I will be like, I was totally wrong. Y'all prove me wrong. That's on me. But right now, and I think I'm valid to be a little bit questionable of the schedule that y'all have faced. So that's kind of where I am, and I don't think that you can use the Saints as a good they went into the Superdome and they got a win.
That was clearly said in semi-mockery as Spencer Rattler was still the QB in that moment.
Oh, well, it was with the other ones. I was not. You listed with the other ones. I don't think that the Buccaneers, as good as the Buccaneers looked at the beginning of the season, I don't think that was a great test because they just fell apart for who knows what reason. I think that I still have doubts about the schedule they faced, and so until they win the Super Bowl, because now they luck into playing a team with a backup quarterback. It just has been a charade or a comedy of wild games where the C.J. Stroud chooses, and once again, maybe you argue that the Patriots made C.J. Stroud play that way. I don't think they did. I think that C.J. Stroud just had he just got the yips. That's the word I was looking for. He got the yips as a quarterback.
They also got to play playoff Justin Herbert.
Yeah, they got to play playoff Justin Herbert, which some people would say is atrocious. I would just say he has been bad in the playoffs. Not that he is bad in the playoffs. But yeah, that's my thing. There is the Patriots still have to prove it to me. And if any Patriots fans are watching this, I do apologize if that makes you mad because you think they've already proved it. They haven't proved it to me yet. So once they do, more power to them. Credit to them.
So you're gonna pick the Broncos?
I mean, I don't have to pick yet. We don't. Are you ready to get into the pick?
I do think we're ready to get into the pick. I don't know if you're first though.
It's still
It's
JP.
still me.
Yeah,
because we've been tied, or JP's had the lead for weeks now.
I've so this spread opened as large as 6.5. It got bet up to 7.5. It's now down to 4.5. I did feel like earlier in the week I was going to pick the Broncos to cover the spread, really, regardless of what happened. And then I've just had a feeling over the last 2 days that Denver's going to win this game. And this is my seer prediction. And, I've had a few of these this year. I'm only going to tell you the ones that I got correct, like picking Miami to beat Ohio State, or picking Indiana to go on the road and beat Oregon.
Don't forget Cincinnati to beat the Steelers, I believe, on Thursday Night Football.
Correct. Joe Flacco.
Yeah,
and Cincinnati to beat the Steelers. So it is one of two games this weekend, but I think Denver's going to win.
Wow.
I think everyone's pretty consensus picked New England pretty much all week, or felt like they were leaning towards New England all week. I don't feel that way. I think this game is going to be close, really, regardless of what happens. 71% of the money is on New England just to cover the spread, which means their money line is probably up to 90% of the public betting on them. I'm going to be in that 10%. I'm going to take Denver to win. I think Denver covers. It's not what I want. I'd rather have New England in the Super Bowl. I think we all would. But I do think Denver gets enough done. I like Sean Payton. I like with what he does with backup quarterbacks, as Sanders mentioned. I thought Jared Stidham, his preseason numbers were telling enough that he's not going to struggle a ton in this moment. Now, there's no way to replicate starting your first start in 2 years in the AFC Championship game. But you're at home. You'll have that defense. If he doesn't turn the ball over, I think they've got a good chance in this game. I think Denver gets it done, wins it 17-14, and the Broncos march on to the Super Bowl in San Francisco in 2 weeks.
I'm also going Denver.
Okay.
To win and cover?
I'm not going to pick them to cover because I could definitely see that,
Well, you would pick them to cover, but not
I
to
would
win.
pick to cover, but not to win.
I was going to say, yeah.
Because picking the win does not benefit me or hurt me any. And I can't piss the Patriots fans off too much. I already went on my spiel about how I think they might
it's
be
too
fraudulent.
late.
Maybe. I got to do whatever I can to save face, though. But I am going to pick Denver to cover. I promise I'm not playing for the tie. No one else can see the spreadsheet. Me and JP are tied at 31-33, which is not good. But I am not just playing for the tie. I'm just waiting for my moment.
Sure,
It may
sure.
come into the Super Bowl.
It may.
Imagine that. I think if it comes down to the Super Bowl, we each have to write our picks on a piece of paper. Because I don't want to have. I don't want to hear what you have to say. I'm gonna write mine down on a piece of paper.
If y'all are tied, I think, y'all can write it down on a piece of paper and hand it to me or something. Or,
Yeah.
text me your pick if y'all want.
You want to go ahead and do your pick, Jack?
Yeah, I'm taking New England, which, no surprise, right?
Yeah,
I think
hot take there.
I've been a little higher on New England for one thing than y'all have been. I mean, the totem pole has had them crazy high for a while now. And I've also just been lower on Denver than other, maybe the average person. And now I have a reason to be even lower on Denver, and that's the fact that they don't have their starting quarterback, who I don't really think is fantastic, but I'd wager say he's better than Jared Stidham. So I'm going to take New England to go on the road and win and cover.